What up, though? It's your man, Momo Muatim Bonisi, aka Scrap Low, aka M3, aka, and I don't even feel like going and all that right now. Check this out. I have no clue what I'm gonna call these morning segments, but they gonna be like little jabs. You know, it's I will be hitting different things that's on my mind, and I decided to try to do this every day because I got tired of too much stuff on my mind for once a week. So once a week, you'll get the big show, right? Uh, the hour and a half show with either me solo dolo or me with some of my guys, you know. But this everyday thing is the everyday stresses, ills, encouragements, uh, motivations that I have on my mind to to get off on a daily basis, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with these mornings. Uh, it's not just some off the top of my head type stuff. I put thought into everything that I present. So yeah. Um, so here we go. Uh, I've been thinking a lot about this quote, and I used to use it all the time. That's the cool thing about it. I used to use this quote all the time. Uh, it is no measure of there's no measure of mental health to be considered sane in a society that's profoundly sick. It's no great measure of mental health. It's no great measure of mental health to be considered sane in a society that's profoundly sick. So let me break that down real quick. So if you live in a uh, a mental ward, right, and everybody that you associate with is considered mentally unwell, that to you may seem normal, right? To where the other people within the hospital may seem like the ones that's a little bit off, right? So if society is like that, if society as a whole is mentally unwell, is mentally ill, to be considered sane within something like that doesn't mean that you are mentally healthy, right? So uh we are in some uh shoot 'em up, uh like wild, I would say Wild West, but they really didn't get down like that in the Wild West, despite popular opinion. They really didn't get down like that. Like, there's some things going on in Kansas City, Missouri right now. It's some things going on in Chicago. There's some things going on in various cities. There's things going on in St. Louis, to where your Cowboys would be like, oh no, that's too much for us. We don't get down like that. Uh, and it's things going on modern day that uh older cats such as myself, we like, man, that's that's beyond the pale. That's going a little bit past it. Rules is different. That's not what I want to talk about. Uh so one of the uh institutions, I believe, that have become a fixture of this profoundly sick society uh, is not something that a lot of people really, really want to get into and really, really want to talk about, which is the police department. Now, I've talked about it a few times before. There have been movements and calls to defund the police, right? And when I first heard it, I was like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Defund the police sounds cool, you know what I'm saying? But when I got to thinking about it in my limited understanding of what they meant by defunding the police, I was like, okay, so the gangs are gonna be who protect the community again? Like, how is that gonna work? What's that look like? You know? Uh, so I did a little research and came to understand some very interesting things. Now, I understand the history of the police. So when they got to talk about defunding the police, I was like, you know what I'm saying? That's what's up. You know what I'm saying? They a racist institution from the gate. So I was with it just on that tip because if you don't know and if you have not heard any of my podcasts before talking about the institution of this institution of policing, it began the police department, or what became known as the police, to protect and serve. They were protecting and serving white settlers who were slave owners. And what these police did was police slaves. They were slave catchers called slave. They would go on slave patrols, you know. Um, and so what these slave patrols would do is they were tasked with they were some like bounty hunters. You know, they would go and retrieve runaway slaves. They would prevent slaves from running away if they saw slaves out without certain papers from their slave master. Then these police would police them and retrieve them uh, or not allow them to escape at all. A lot of these police officers were raping uh, women. So, and it's a thought that just crossed my mind that I might get into a little bit later. But but so that was the beginning of the institution of uh, police and policing, and I mean, even from that time, you're looking at police officers who uh, didn't look like the people that they were policing. And there was a reason why. Because they were policing communities, they were policing a people that they were trying to consistently keep under wraps and keep enslaved. At that time, it was physically. Right now, it's now that I think about it, at that time it was physical and psychological, and now it's still physical and psychological because it was legal then to enslave people, or rather, not legal. It was not illegal. It wasn't legal. It just wasn't illegal yet, right? Now it's literally legal. Like the way that they doing it now, like it's legal. Like slavery is legal. It is literally in the Constitution. Uh, you can legally enslave uh, a person via incarceration, and so it is not amazing to me at all that the mass portion of mass incarceration is disproportionately black and brown people. That doesn't surprise me at all because, and I'm going to get into this defunding the police as it pertains to that. But I just wanted to give you a little history on the police department and how it is inherently racist from the beginning. Now, uh, you have, continuing on the inherently racist system of the police department, uh, you have some, not all, not even most, uh, former and current police officers who have been found. They've done a study on this. I saw it. Like, there's been a study that there is a significant number of police officers who hold positions. They are sheriffs, detectives, uh, ranking officers who are members of racist groups on Facebook. They are also stupid. Why would you get on why would you put your real name or something that can be tracked back to you on Facebook, knowing that that would possibly go against your code of ethics for your job, unless you just really don't care, or the people you work with are on the same groups. So that's really the only reason why. And then you wonder why the number of black and brown people that get killed by police are disproportionate to that of white people. It's not shocking when you uncover it. All the skinheads did is grew some hair. That's it. All the neo Nazis did was cover they 88s and SSs. That's all they did. You know, they covered a lot of them would have they SS bolts on their heart. All they did was cover it with a badge. That's all they did. You know, but to think that these individuals would be able to have these types of mentalities and protect and serve everybody, that doesn't go along with current psychology or psychological thinking. It just doesn't. It doesn't abide by what we know as the decision making process. You know, there are certain decisions that are made based off of your perception and your perspective, and these things will dictate your actions and behavior. You can't have uh, racist and president prejudicial thoughts and have uh, balanced actions. It don't work like that. Especially and you are in a so-called presumed position of authority over people, it definitely don't work like that. Definitely doesn't. So what I realized in 1992, there was some things that went on in Kansas City, Missouri. It was a brother that got killed here by police, and it was really my first taste of understanding what it meant for the city to get in an uproar against the police and what the police could do to get back. So I saw the police get militarized, right? And upon further research years and years later, I realized that uh, police departments, police departments, local and state police departments around the nation uh, get around 6 billion with a B, $6 billion in military equipment from the federal government. $6 billion of military equipment from the government every year. 6 billion, right? So trust and believe these police got the same things or very, very similar things to our U.S. military. They got grenade launchers. They got all these, high tech weapons. And for what? Like, I realized that there are gangs and groups on the streets that have drones. You know what I'm saying? I get it. But you talking about a military as a police force. Yeah. So what does it mean to defund the police? Let's get to that. Let's get to what it really means to defund the police. The police get collectively around the nation, in state and local police departments, around $100 billion annually. Get about $100 billion a year to fund the police force, right? What does this take away from, right? So to fund the police force as much as the police are funded means to that means that less money goes to education, less money goes to health care, less money goes to programs that would benefit the community in a much more productive and widespread way than funding the police department. Now, defunding the police department does not mean the police department would shut down. That just means that they not gonna get $10 billion a year to function and talking about they need more money. For what? You know what needs more money? Education needs more money. It's not a defunding of the police. You're just not going to get all of the funds that you've been accustomed to having for no good damn reason. Some of those funds will be reallocated. And so to give people a better understanding of what they're talking about, they should say, instead of defunding the police, reallocating the funds of the police. And this reallocation would go towards, well, rather it would go away from policing and incarceration. Because let's really just face it. Let's just kick the ballistics and face the facts. With all of the billions of dollars that are allocated to police departments around this nation, to all the funds that are allocated to the St. Louis Police Department, Kansas City Police Department, Chicago Police Department, LA Police Department, New York Police Department, all these various police departments who still have really high crime and murder rates, especially murder rates. With all the money, equipment, time, resources, you would think that crime, violent crime, murder, and incarceration would be down with all the money that goes into the prison system. And yet it's not. So what is all the money for? Why do we keep pouring money into a system that doesn't work? Why? Why indeed? So it diverts away from school, it diverts away from education, it diverts away from community strengthening programs. So where would this money be reallocated? What programs should these funds be reallocated to? Education, alternative forms, restorative justice programs, conflict resolution programs, employment programs. Let's face it, a lot of the reasons why people commit crimes to begin with is for money. And so, and I would always say this: if you give somebody the choice between say a steak on a dirty, filthy, booger and spit infested trash can lid, or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on a clean plate, more often than not saying all the time, more often than not, that person is going to choose that peanut butter and jelly sandwich on that clean plate, right? Because this steak, it's just not appealing enough to me to have to pick around and go around all this other bull crap that's on this trash can lid. You feed me filth. You feed me filth on filth. Give me something palatable and I can eat that, right? So if we invest in things that have been proven to work, conflict resolution and restorative justice programs have been proven to work. I know this personally. They have been proven to work. So these strengthen our community while the consistent over policing of some communities does not. It just doesn't. And I don't care how many body cams you put on these cops. I don't care how many. Listen. So they say it's a few bad apples. Number one, it's more than a few. I am of the belief that it's, and I'm not saying, let me clear this up real quick. I'm not saying that it is all. I'm not even gonna go out and say that it is most, right? I will say this though. There are police officers that do their jobs and that truly do their jobs. And I'm talking about white police officers that do their jobs and do it to strengthen community bonds and help the community. Yes, there are those out there. However, I believe that a lot of those officers know the officers that I'm referring to. And to do nothing means you are complicit in the actions of these other so-called bad apples. I don't believe they are bad apples. I believe it's a bad tree, right? I believe that it's a bad tree producing bad apples, and it's actually the good cops that are the ones that are the anomalies in that particular institution, not so-called bad cops. I think the cops that are perpetrating all this violence, choking out people, putting knees on their necks, it's cops like that. Those are the ones that are the offspring of the product, that are the offspring products of a tree that goes back over 400 years. And so I don't think it's the so-called bad apples that are the anomaly. I think they are the standard. And the good cops need to do a little bit more to weed out the bad ones. So when it comes to defunding the police, it's not about saying that there will not be law enforcement. It's not about saying that the police will not be able to do or perform their jobs adequately. It's about adding funds to things and programs that really need it. You know, I'm telling you, if you do not, those of you that really don't understand the cost of not investing in education, not investing in your children, if you think the price of education is high, see what the price of ignorance gets you. Just pay attention to the price of ignorance. The price of ignorance leads to prison. Remember, it is the preschool to prison pipeline, not the school to prison pipeline no more. It is preschool to prison. And so if you don't want to pay the cost of education, you will pay the cost of ignorance. And the ignorance is your baby's not being properly educated. And if you don't want to pay, if you don't want to have taxes, if you don't want to reallocate the funds to your babies to be educated, I know a free education system that will open up its arms to your babies. I'm talking about open arms, willing, always there, 24/7. It's called the streets. Believe that. I'm gonna get into this a little bit later. You know, some of my guys might want to might I'm pretty sure they want to chomp at the bit on this. So we might hit on this a little bit later, man. But uh, to be considered sane in a society that is profoundly sick is no great measure of mental health. You can't be considered sane around everybody else that's crazy. You just can't do it. Have a wonderful day. Let your thoughts be your guide. Make good choices. Peace. I'm out.